Today we are going to be talking to our intermediate students about their changing bodies. Hi, I'm Nadine Thornhill. Welcome to my series Save Sex Ed, where I teach every module from Ontario's 2015 Health and Physical Education curriculum. If you are new here, you can click on the eye above me to learn more about this series, and you can click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss any videos. The Health and Phys Ed curriculum for grades 1 through 8 outline the following learning objectives for grades 4 and 5. Describe the physical changes that occur in males and females at puberty. Describe emotional and social impacts that may result from these changes. Demonstrate an understanding of personal care needs associated with the onset of puberty. Describe the process of menstruation and spermatogenesis. That is a lot, and there's going to be a lot to this video, which means it's going to be a little longer than normal. Before we dive in, there are a couple of things I want to address right off the bat. The first thing is that I am not going to be gendering people according to biology. So I am not going to be talking about female bodies and male bodies. I will be talking about, bodies with uteruses, bodies with ovaries, bodies with testicles, bodies with penises. I'll also be using qualifiers when I talk about bodies. So you'll hear me saying things like most bodies with ovaries and most bodies with testicles. The reason that I do this is because in a group setting, we don't really know what type of bodies people may have. We don't know if they're cisgender, if they're trans, if they're non-binary. We don't know if they're intersex. And so I try to avoid talking in strictly universal terms, even when I'm discussing something like puberty and biology. So I invite you to do the same if you are, giving a similar lesson in a classroom or group setting. Because there is a lot of learning, I have a couple of activities for you to do. For the first one, you are going to need a few pieces of newsprint, and you will also need some Post-its. On your sheets of newsprint, you are going to write on one, bodies with ovaries, uterus, vulva. On the second piece of paper, you're going to write bodies with penis, testicles, seminal vesicles, if you want to include seminal vesicles. And on the third piece of paper, you're going to write any body, not anybody, any body. On your Post-it notes, you are going to write different changes associated with puberty. I have a list. They'll be on my website, and the link is down below. It's also up above. And these are just, basic things like pubic hair, voice deepening, hips widening, increased body fat, muscle, or both, things like that. And so you are going to take your 3 pieces of paper and post them on the wall. If you don't have space, you can also lay them out on the floor. And then take the sticky notes and on another wall or in another part of the room, just sort of paste them all up randomly. Once you have your group or your class together, before diving into the activity, ask them, what is puberty? They may have a lot of ideas, so give them a few minutes to share their thoughts. Then you can explain that puberty is a time of life when the body transitions from a child's body to an adult body. Then you can ask your class when they think puberty starts. And again, they may have a lot of ideas or guesses. And after they've had a chance to share, you can tell them that there's a broad range of ages where puberty can start. It's different for different people, but for most people, puberty will start sometime between the ages of 8 years old and 14 years old. And the last question before you get into the exercise is, how long do you think puberty takes? So after the class or the group has shared their thoughts, you can let them know that, again, it really varies. But for most people, puberty lasts between 4 and 8 years. For some people, it's a little shorter. For some people, it can be a little bit longer. Now you are going to bring your group's attention to the 3 sheets of newspaper. Next, draw the group's attention to the sticky notes. You're going to pull one off the wall, or you can have someone in the group volunteer to pull one off the wall and read it aloud. Ask the group if they think that that is a change that happens to bodies with uteruses and ovaries, if they think it is a change that happens to bodies with penises and testicles, or if they think it is a change that happens to any body. Once they come up with the correct answer, you can have someone paste that sticky note on the correct piece of newsprint. And you're simply going to repeat this process until all of the sticky notes are, stuck on the pieces of newsprint. And to wrap up this exercise, we'll conclude by asking our group what they think a body going through puberty needs to be as healthy as possible. Some of the answers can include staying clean, bathing on a regular basis, eating as nutritiously as possible, getting as much sleep as possible, learning how to express those strong pubescent emotions in constructive ways, and stress reduction techniques, whether that be, meditation, exercise, talking to, a trusted person in your life, relaxing, having fun, just letting it all kind of go. Second activity, we are going to learn about the menstrual cycle and spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis? I'm going with spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis. To prep for this exercise, you're going to need to write the stages of menstruation on individual pieces of paper. Then you will need to do the same thing for the stages of spermatogenesis. So this information again will be on my websites. You know where to find the links, up, down. Again, before you dive into the activity, we have a couple of questions to put to the class or group. What is the menstrual cycle? The menstrual cycle is something that happens to a lot of people with uteruses, and it is the body's way of getting ready for the possibility of having a baby. You are going to ask for 6 volunteers. You're going to give each volunteer a piece of paper that has one of the stages of the menstrual cycle. So make sure to hand them out randomly, because now what you're going to do is you are going to get the class to line up those 6 volunteers in order so that we can see the 6 stages of the menstrual cycle in order. What is the order? Step 1, inside the ovary, an egg begins to mature. Step 2, after 10 to 14 days, the ovary releases a mature egg or ovum. Step 3, the egg is swept up into the fallopian tubes. Step 4, the egg continues moving along the fallopian tubes. However, if it is not fertilized by a sperm within 24 hours, it begins to break down. Step 5, meanwhile, the lining of the uterus thickens with blood in anticipation of a fertilized egg. If there is a fertilized egg, it will implant in this thick uterine lining. Step 6, after about 20 days, if there is no fertilized egg, the lining of the uterus begins to break down. Eventually, it passes through the cervix, into the vagina, and out of the body. This is known as menstruation, or more commonly, a period. After you have established the order of menstruation, ask your class how long they think menstruation or a period lasts. Like most things puberty, it depends, but for a lot of people, period can last between 2 and 7 days. Periods happen about once a month. However, they can be irregular and happen more or less frequently, especially during puberty. Finally, you can share the following fun facts about menstruation. Once a person's menstrual cycle begins, they are usually capable of becoming pregnant if they have penis in vagina sex. Once a person begins menstruating, they will usually continue to menstruate until they reach menopause, which usually happens in people's late 40s or somewhere in their 50s. Finally, people who are pregnant do not have periods because the embryo or fetus uses the lining of the uterus to get the nutrients it needs to grow and develop. We're going to do the same exercise with spermatogenesis. So again, start by asking the class what they think that word means. Spermatogenesis is the maturation and production of sperm. When a mature sperm fertilizes a mature ova, that is conception, or the beginning of pregnancy. So again, you are going to ask for volunteers, and you are going to randomly distribute signs listing the stages of spermatogenesis. Step 1. Immature sperm cells are produced in tiny tubes found inside the testicles. Step 2. the sperm cells move up inside a tube called the epididymis, where they grow for several weeks. During sexual arousal, the sperm will move from the epididymis into another tube called the vas deferens. There is a lot of moving through tubes down there. It's like a subway system. Sperm mixes with other fluids to form this whitish mixture called semen. During ejaculation, semen exits the body through the urethra, which is yet another tube inside the penis. At the tip of the head of the penis, you can see the opening to the urethra. Fun fact about spermatogenesis. When a person ejaculates, there's usually like a teaspoon or so of semen. That teaspoon of semen contains millions and millions of sperm. They're so small and there's so many of them. Most people with a penis and testicles begin producing sperm during puberty and will continue to produce sperm throughout their entire lives. If you are having the conversation about puberty at home, it can feel a little daunting because there is a lot of biological information, and unless you are a doctor or a biologist, might be a little difficult. So I have a few videos about puberty that I will link to down below that you might find helpful. Also, remember, you don't have to explain everything at once. Again, the advantage of having these conversations with your own kids is you can take your time and just sort of introduce things gradually over the course of a few months or maybe even a couple of years. If your child has a body that menstruates, you can help them prepare for that by having a variety of menstrual products, so tampons, pads, cups, different brands, different materials, whatever, is sort of within your financial means, ready and available for them when they do start menstruating. You can also encourage them to, look at things, open packages, before they start having their period, just so it's familiar to them. If your child is physically capable, you can teach them to wash their own sheets. It's great because it's one less chore you have to do as their parent or caregiver, but it can also be useful because if you are menstruating or ejaculating, having wet dreams or just masturbating, accidents happen, sheets get messy, and sometimes kids just feel a little better if they can handle that on their own. Something else we can do as parents and caregivers is validate our kids' feelings and experiences with puberty, even if they sometimes seem erratic or irrational. Certainly we have been through puberty, but we haven't been through their puberty. They are going through a lot. It's a new experience. And so just, reassuring them that it's normal, that it's okay, that, having these heightened emotions is very, very normal. And just letting them know that, you are there for them and you will continue to be there as they go through this intense transition. Finally, if your child is trans or non-binary, you may want to have a family discussion and a discussion with your healthcare practitioner about the possibility of puberty blockers. Puberty blockers temporarily halt the progression of puberty and delay the development of potentially unwanted secondary sex characteristics until a child is older and can make an informed decision about whether or not they want to pursue hormone therapy and or gender affirming surgery as part of their transition or gender confirmation. Because this has been a really long video, we're just going to have a few conversation prompts, but they can still kick off some really juicy, interesting discussions. What are you looking forward to about growing older? What are you not looking forward to about growing older? How do you feel about going through puberty? Some great resources if you are talking to your own kids or your students about puberty are Nonnie Talks About Puberty. It is a fantastic book. It's written by a friend and colleague of mine, Mary Jo Podgurski, and it's a book you can read with your kids or to your kids, or you can just read it yourself because it actually gives a really good model of how to have discussions about puberty with kids. Another great book, one of my all-time favorites, is Sex is a Funny Word by Cory Silverberg, and I have done a review of that book, so I will, again, leave the link down below for you. In the comments below, let me know something significant you remember from when you went through puberty. Something significant I remember, probably because I'm having my period right now, is my first period and how it was nothing like they showed on those commercials with like the maxi pads and the like tidy blue liquid. It was just a messy situation and I was in complete denial. I was like, I'm not doing this, forget it. No, I just will not have a reproductive system. Screw it. Didn't work that way. I still have one, obviously. That's all for now. I hope you have a great day and I will see you soon. Bye. You can help me continue creating free sex ed content by supporting me on Patreon. For as little as $3 a month, you'll get access to all sorts of goodies, so head on over to patreon.com/Nadine Thornhill or click the link down in the description below.